us wait how many years only to get this piece of crap? You really thought you could get away with making a desperate cash grab sequel that was nothing like the original and had none of the actual elements of the original whatsoever, and thought you would make money off of it. Well, thankfully, most of us were not smart enough to fall for your crap because this movie bombed, and all your greediness just blew up in your face. But you know what happened because of that? You killed one of the most promising new IPs that you had. So yeah, I'm angry. And yeah, I'm not gonna give you any mercy, Blumhouse, because I'm tired of you pulling this bullshit. Because you pull it way too often, and it needs to stop. I swear if you screw up FNAF 2, I will give you hell. But first, let's talk about the first IP that you have killed because of your own greed. And a movie that literally took me forever to finally see because of personal reasons. And now that I finally have seen it, I can say that I am thankful that I waited until it was on digital to actually watch it, because I would have been so more pissed off had I wasted money for a theater ticket on this garbage. Oh, and everyone's saying that this is like Terminator 2. Keep that masterpiece's name out of your fucking mouth. So, what's up? What's happening? What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Animation Station. I'm the pissed off Jackson Small, here to review another bad movie. Because, as great as 2025 has been, it has also had some of the most rancid, awful shit that I have seen in a while. Like, not since 2021 have I seen movies that are this bad. And this one is no different. M3GAN 2.0 is not just a downgrade, it is a complete and utter abomination from hell that should have been purged before it even made it onto the freaking set. It is absolutely unwatchable. And in every single way, it took every single positive that the original made, threw it out the window, pissed on it, and then threw it back in a haphazard mess. And thankfully, unlike most of Blumhouse's butchered bombings, this one didn't actually make money. Thank God for that, because if this did make money, I probably would have been even more upset. Because, thankfully, people wised up to this crap and knew immediately from the trailer that this was not going to be a movie that was worthwhile. And thus, it tanked hard at the box office. Meaning that the IP is dead, and any goodwill that it had from the original is dead. Now, that doesn't mean that the original is going to be worse just from this existing. This isn't Return to Zombie Island. But this is still an atrocious sequel made by people that clearly didn't care. So, oh, you want to know how I didn't know that they cared? Because James Wan's not director this time. It's some other random guy, and they decided to turn this into a cheesy, corny action flick for the kiddies. In other words, Blumhouse doing what Blumhouse does best, and PG-13 pussifying every single hardcore element from the original. It is so fucking dumb. And yes, this is an 18+ review, because I have not been able to let loose on anything like this in a long while. So, strap yourselves in. Here we go. Here's my review. Short, sweet, to the point for a short, sweet, to the point pile of absolute dog shit. Here we go. Wow, Blumhouse. Way to take a solid foundation and find every single possible way to tear it to the ground and shit on it. M3GAN 2.0 is more than just a drastic downgrade from the original. It is an outright abomination, and one of Blumhouse's biggest failures. And considering how many terrible PG-13 horror movies they've made, that's saying something. The story is terrible. Look, I am not against them trying to do something different than they did from the original movie, but they didn't even fucking try this time. The acting is atrocious. All the returning actors are bad, except for M3GAN. She's the only one that's actually trying. The humor is garbage. There's only 2 good jokes in this movie, and they're jokes from the trailer that are about vaginas. That is literally the only good jokes in the movie. And they were in the trailer. Yeah, wasted all their good stuff in the marketing. The pacing is agonizing. I kid you not, by the time we reached the 37-minute mark, I thought that it was already been past an hour. Yes, this movie's pacing really is that fucking atrocious. The effects are horrible, and considering that this movie has a much bigger budget than the first, that is absolutely fucking inexcusable. How can you have a bigger budget and yet your effects look far worse than your predecessor? How the hell do you even do that? The writing is lazy. It just follows beat for beat a bunch of other shit that we've already seen in a dozen other movies, both good and bad, in the past millennium or more. Action is boring. Look, this being an action movie, I'm not against if it's done well. And if you take a look at Terminator 2, that is an action movie that's also a horror movie that does both things very well. Because it had a solid focus of what it wanted to do. Whereas this fucking piece of shit, it feels like it's just aimlessly drifting through a grand majority of its runtime until it finally starts actually doing something an hour and 15 minutes in. And when we do finally get the action in this movie, it is a boring ripoff of Upgrade. You know, that movie that people say is like the real Venom movie because it's pretty much exactly the same concept. And that movie, it's gory and fucking awesome. Yeah, this movie literally tried to rip it off in every single way it possibly could have. Like, hey, you want to do a spinning camera? Or, hey, you want to do how the camera shakes every time that the person moves? Yeah, it's like it's totally hadn't been done before. In 2019, they treat this shit like it's something new, and it's not. They're just being lazy. Because laziness is the name of the game here, because they just have to put as little effort in as possible to make as much money as possible. And thankfully, once again, it blew up in their fucking face. The final act is beyond stupid. It tries to force in some half-assed message about AI that was literally not built up throughout the movie whatsoever. At any point whatsoever. It was just threw in there haphazardly at the end to try to send a message to the audience. No, what it is fucking stupid. And rewatchability is 0. I cannot see myself ever wanting to re-experience this torture ever again. And I hope and pray that we do not get a M3GAN 3.0 because it does not fucking deserve it. Sure, M3GAN herself is still okay. She's not nearly as funny or likable as she was in the original, but she's still herself. She still has her quips, she still constantly makes fun of Gemma, and she still constantly has a potty mouth. But at the same time, it also feels like she's very sterilized, very stripped back. So I can't really give them that much praise for that either, because even with them trying to keep her with her same personality, they just continuously, again, strip away everything that the original did so well and fuck it up for the sake of trying to make as little effort as possible to make as much money as possible. And it has decent ideas. Again, I am not against them. I'm not against the concept. Like, the concept of turning this into an action movie, that is not a bad idea on paper. Again, Terminator 2. I get that comparison, but keep that masterpiece of a movie's name out of your mouth, because this is nothing like that at all. Because this is how you do a genre flip in a franchise, horribly and completely and utterly wrong. Because the execution just completely and utterly decimated it beyond any kind of repair. In conclusion, Blumhouse got greedy, made a rushed hack job as a desperate cash grab, and thankfully it blew up in their face. This is an unwatchable pile of shit that just killed the IP and any goodwill it had, all for the sake of money. Absolutely, completely, and utterly fucking pathetic. It bombed, it sucks, the end. Final verdict for this absolute sorry-ass excuse of a sequel to a good movie is a 1 out of 10. A 1. One of the worst movies of the year, one of the worst sequels of the year, one of the biggest disappointments of the year, and I hope that at least one person was fired because of it. Because shit like this is unacceptable. But again, like I said, thankfully, the rest of you wised up to this fact rather quickly, and it bombed horribly at the box office. Thank God for that. And hopefully, Blumhouse will learn from that mistake and not try anything this stupid ever again. At least, I really hope not. And like I said, Blumhouse, if you ruin Five Nights at Freddy's in December, I'm going to throw an absolute fucking riot. Because that is a movie that I also really loved, that I'm scared to death you're going to destroy. Seriously, please don't destroy FNAF. If you destroy FNAF and FNAF 2, I'm gonna be fucking livid. And then for Christmas, you're gonna be getting probably the angriest review you will ever see come out of my mouth. So, thank you so much for watching. Apologies for getting angry in this review, but like I've said before, I built my channel off blunt and brutal honesty, and I gotta tell you to stay far away from dog shit. Stay far away from this dog shit. End of story. See you in the next review. Hopefully it's something better. Bye.